Welcome to Memphis Matters. I am your girl, Dee Dee Koen. And you know what? For a long time, I've been saying, Memphis Matters. Memphis Matters. You matter. We matter. Guess what? I even matter. And I've been saying it for so long, for so many years. And then out came this outstretched hand. And he's here with us today. Welcome, Dr. Robert Jamison. Talented. I'm going to give it to you.
Hey,
how you doing today?
I'm blessed by the best and highly favored. Want to give a big shout out to you. Want everybody to know that you're listening to Memphis Matters with my girl, Dee Dee Koen.
All right,
And we're gonna get busy today.
Awesome. Dr. Robert Jamison is an American actor, director, film and music producer. He's an accomplished doctor. He is so passionate about what he's doing for people. And what attracted me to you, Dr. Jamison, was this turning point. And I felt like I had reached a turning point too, but I hadn't read your story. I just saw turning point. And then when I heard your story, I was like, wow. So perfect timing, especially for me. And at this time, I know you probably did this a while back, but at this time we need this. Talk to us about the turning point.
Well, the turning point basically highlights some of my past misdeeds and some of my struggles back in the day. Before I left Memphis, Tennessee in 2012, up and relocated to California, I grew up in the streets. I come from poverty, the projects. And a lot of people would think that because you're from the projects that you can't be successful. You have no endeavors or no future ahead of you. My medical career started in 1989 at Baptist Memorial Hospital, East Memphis, but I actually started downtown first before they destroyed the building, and I got transferred out to East. I worked surgery for right at 20 years before I went into private practice. So I give all of my kudos to some of the medical providers that trained me, coached me, mentored me throughout the entire process, that basically inspired me to become that dedicated healthcare provider that I have become. I opened my first practice in 2006, 1266, over on Poplar Avenue. And was a infusion company for registered nurses, a specialty where we did PICC lines. And that jump started my entrepreneurship. So the turning point came about in 2009 when I got caught up in the system for a crime that I did not commit.
Oh, wow.
And was labeled. I was crucified by the view of the public opinion. Before my court hearing was even approached, the city, not the entire city, but most people, critics, haters, no sayers, convicted me before I even got a chance to go to court. Going to court for a crime that I was accused of as a healthcare provider. It wasn't medical related, but I was a CPR instructor back here in the early 2000s, and I did it for some years. But got caught up with a guy called my friend and initiated a contract without reading the fine print. Trusted his word. Signed a contract to become an entrepreneur CPR training site. And he submitted a contract for me to sign as a training center for CPR. So just because I trusted him and didn't read the contract, I trusted his word, and lo and behold, I started training people up under the venture of a training site for CPR, which I had no authorizations to sign the back of a CPR card as a training center. So that was the difference between training site and training center. My initial agreement with him was to become a training site. He sent me a curriculum to teach by for everyone to become an instructor as a training center. So I taught by the curriculum that he sent to me. And after the consumers took their CPR certification test, and I signed the back of the card with my company name and my name on it, which invalidated the card. The card was invalid. And it's because I was a training site, not a training center. But keep in mind, everything that he sent to me to teach by the curriculum was for that training center. So go through the court process. The judge dropped all of the charge that I was alleged, did a probation for 4 years. Come to find out that the probation was such a death trap for me because of my dedication to healthcare and much as I like to travel. So I called my attorney, and 3 weeks later, and after I thought about it, I said, you know, I can't resume my life in a system like this here because they totally taking control of me. Everybody I sit in front of, you know, work related, they're gonna assume that I'm trying to steal from them or take from them, right? So I need to do something to rectify this issue. And the only way I can do that is to surrender my probation and go to jail. In other words, to get off paper. So we went back through the process. He called a district attorney. He basically said, you know, this guy, he's been successful all these many years. You know, he's not a criminal. And the district attorney realized that I wasn't a criminal because I didn't have a criminal background. I had a workaholic background, but not a criminal background. But that taught me a lesson. So what I did, I surrendered my freedom, took out probation. So it was a 4-year probation, and after the fact that I went to the penal form, I spent 14 months at the penal form on a work release program because there was that trustee type kind of factor where I was capable and I met all the requirements that I could leave the compound. So I was on a work release program, but keep in mind for those 14 months, all I did was wrote. I wrote 4 books while I was incarcerated. I wrote a stage play while I was incarcerated. I wrote a movie while I was incarcerated. So I utilized that tool. I'm not in jail for a crime. I'm in jail, incarcerated to get out probation. So I wrote the book, The Turning Point. I wrote the book, Behind the Razor Wire Fence. I wrote another book called The Addicted to Legal Troubles. And I wrote these topics because each and every title had a name for it. Because as an African American, you know, the system is already against us anyway. I mean, there's nothing that we can do to vindicate ourselves unless we go through the process. Because here's the thing, when I was investigated on all those alleged charges, the prosecutors knew I was innocent. I submitted documentary evidence, the paper trail that I took money from people, but I sent it to them. The document that presented that I signed a contract where I was supposed to be in a training site, but he sent me a training center curriculum. You know what I'm saying? So the deck was already stacked against me because he was white and I was black. So when the media got involved, okay, when the media got involved, it was like I was the crook and I was the scapegoat and the crook, but he got away to leave Memphis without any charges, and I had to suffer those consequences all by myself. But here's the thing, I didn't point the finger at anybody. I prayed about it. I let God work his magic. God told me, he said, the only way I'm going to be able to wipe the slate clean, I got to prove self, not to nobody else, but prove it to myself. Oh, he had faith in me. He had trust in me. He gave me that second chance to correct all of my issues, all my flaws. So within those 14 months, I wrote those books. Now, the Turning Point book is my most popular book because it's related to the corruption that I was able to observe while I was incarcerated. See, people think that there's no crime going on in the jail system because of the what we call pod officer, the correction facility, parole officers. All these people are colluding together. One person down, that's an inmate. Because when you're incarcerated, you don't have a voice. No matter if you're in for a suspended driver license, a DUI, and those are what I call low-level offenders. So, but they treat you like you don't kill somebody, you're a murderer, you know what I mean? And nothing that you can say is truthful. This personnel is the corrupt ones. So all this is in the book, The Turning Point.
Wow. And you are listening to Memphis Matters. On today's show, we have Dr. Robert Jamison. Now, Dr. Robert Jamison, I got to say the whole
Yes.
because I want everybody to know your story is so very touching. I can't wait for our first meeting. And upon meeting you, just a little bit that I've read inspired me. It's so sad. I'm just surprised. I'm a little bit shocked about this turning point because that.
Well, and another reason why the book was so powerful, because there were inmates that I basically bonded with that was gang related, that was child molesters, that basically what I call showed their remorse for what the crime that they committed. And some of the people that was incarcerated for drug addictions and drug addicts and people that were selling drugs. People were selling drugs because they couldn't get a job and they were just trying to make ends meet by. That's the street game. You sell drugs to get by. But I was able to utilize my experience in healthcare. And a lot of people looked up to me when I was incarcerated, believe it or not. Even the director of the facility, the administrator, some of the pod officers, some of the counselors, because I'm just not that typical person. I went in to get our probation. I'm not finna go in here and break the law, break the rules, get caught up in a different kind of scandal where you can make me spend more time than I was able to charge to spend. Because what they do, they get up there and write all these fake and false infractions on you and extends your time to stay. So I was calling them out. I mean, like literally anything that violated my civil rights or my rights as a human being, I would write it up. I was writing up the officers, I was writing up the counselors, I was writing up any personnel that disrespected me and violated my civil rights, let alone my constitutional rights. So I wasn't a writer until I got locked up. I was writer in the healthcare because we was taught to document. So when I went in, I was already knowledgeable how to gain respect. And it's not about running your mouth, telling somebody what you're gonna do. You put it on paper and you report it as an unusual occurrence, because if it's unusual, then there's an infraction on the personnel behalf. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of other inmates didn't know that. They was not aware of that, but they watched me along the way for those very 14 months that I was incarcerated. Dee Dee, I wrote every day. Every day I got off work, went back to the compound. I put my paper, literally, I was writing pages and pages and pages every day after work. On weekends, Saturday and Sunday when I was off, I was writing for 10 to 12 to 14 hours. And the other inmates, they were so cool. They actually gave me my space because I included some of them in the book with their authorization. I changed names and characters, but they was in the book. But these are some of the people that I was able to touch souls with, you know what I mean? And it's bad to say they have all of these, what I call street preachers that come from the streets to the compound, but even they look at you like you done kill somebody. I mean, come on, you're down for them. I mean, this is a low-level offense that I'm charged with, probation. But you're gonna try to take my freedom away from me after the fact that I have already surrendered it? I mean, come on, we at the lowest point of our life. There's no rehabilitation in jail. Everybody debilitates you because you're nobody. You don't have a voice. You're an inmate. You're a convict. You're a felon. See, all of these terminologies points the finger at one person, and that's you, the individual. So I went in with a plan to go and do my damn time and not get caught up in situations and not let those people in the system take over my life. I did it in respect for mine, because it ain't what you say, it's how you say it. It ain't what you do, it's how you do it. I stayed in my space. So when they were doing all these dorm shakedowns and all these contraband searches and stuff, they couldn't find nothing on me because I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, and I'm not gonna violate nobody, what they call policy and procedure. I was trained to follow proper policies and procedure. I'm disciplined. But I'm telling you, the jail system is the most corrupt institution in its entire world. It's made for murderers, child molesters, for people that does hardcore crime. That's who need to be in there. If they want to rehabilitate inmates on a low-level offenses, they should have a separation type kind of situation for those people that want to rehabilitate themselves, want to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So in the turning point, it's going to educate people about the system, our own system in Memphis, how corrupt some of the people are in the system that you basically see walking out on the streets every day. Those are the ones that plotting and colluding against you to extend your time, where your 14 months could turn into 5 or 6 years based on what they write up on infractions in a disciplinary form. So it's in the turning point.
Well,
I can go with this all day, but
well, I'll say this. This is probably our part 1 series to Turning Point, because there's so much to you that we couldn't even get it in one
that's true.
show. So let's entitle this the series to the Turning Point, featuring Dr. Robert Jamison, along with Ms. Dee Dee Koen. Because you know what? Memphis matters. Okay?
It does matter. And you matter. I matter. Everybody matters.
Yeah, even I matter.
You know, and you know, it's my mission to be a voice for the powerless, you know, to empower them. Because if I can go through it and do it and be accused of something that I was a victim of, when I say a victim of, because I paid this white man my money to become that instructor. I didn't just raise my hand and say, hey, I want to become a CPR instructor. I paid him a $500 fee to become that instructor, to be entitled to use that title, the training site. But I mean, I paid the price for my mistake, you know? I mean, when I sacrificed my freedom, I did it to wipe the slate clean and move on with my life and not let that over the top of my head for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Well, let's talk about those temporaries. Wait a minute. While I'm away from you, ooh, baby.
Go ahead on.
I know it's hard for you. Them temporaries know I love him, honey.
I know I do. I love them too.
I know you became their executive producer. Tell me about that.
Well, I can tell you, I've been knowing the Temp Priest for many, many, many years. In fact, Dale Calvin, one of the lead singers, we worked in the operating room together at Baptist Hospital. He's a surgery nurse, and I was a physician assistant in surgery. So I met Dale in 1989. That's just how far back we go. And Dale gave me an opportunity to work with the Temp Priest in the early 90s when I started booking him on little bitty events in Memphis, you know. And Dale and I, we had a bonding relationship. He's like a big brother to me. And so they'll know my character, in spite of what everybody said about me in the fact that he was going through that process. Dale knew my character. He knew the kind of person I am. You know what I mean? So when I moved to California, I came to California to move on with my life, to close the chapter on this old Robert Jamison, right? And restore my sanity and my dignity and my reputation. My character was already in space. It was already intact. But there's some things I need to prove to myself that I can do it. Because if God blessed me once to build an empire, he can bless me to do it again.
Yes, he
and
can.
I didn't know nobody when I moved to California.
Wow.
I didn't know anybody, not in healthcare, not in the street, not in the community, in society. I had a sibling that lived out here. But when I moved here, she didn't know I was here for 2 years. I made some moves, and I made moves because I didn't want to go and shack with nobody. I didn't want to go live with nobody, because when you do things like that, people come back and say, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have this. I did this for you. This is how you repay me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need that drama. So when I moved here in 2012, I was going through some shit. Just got out of jail. My mom had passed. Divorce finalized. You know what I'm saying? So I was broken into pieces. But the only thing that can relieve my mind was my pen and paper. I started writing this movie called Surviving Tough Times. Then I got that produced about 4 years later, and I turned the play, I Survived the Storm. Toured that play, I Survived the Storm, and I got back into the music industry. I called Dale and them out here, started booking shows. I met this guy named Andre Ray. He's a former lead singer of the group LTD. He replaced Jeffrey Osborne as a solo singer when Jeffrey went solo. He carried the group LTD. When I met him, I did my first show downtown on Skid Row. And I met Andre, and he was just mesmerized by the audience that I was able to bring together. And so I said, you know, you got to do a show with the Tim Creed because them are boys back home. Now he's a Grammy-nominated artist. He's still singing Jeffrey Osborne music, but he wrote the song April Love. You remember that song April Love through LTD? Go back and listen to it when you get off the show. But he recorded that song, and he wrote a lot of songs that Jeffrey Osborne was singing back in the day. And so I bonded with him really, really good. Then I started connecting with other promoters, big time promoters here in California that were doing big things, right? So that was my way to get in with the arcades, to get in with Howard Hewitt. Then we got into the Cheryl Cooley Climax, and then we're doing Melissa Morgan, and we're talking about Tom Brown. You know, we just had that show. And we were working with Cameo, we were working with Switch, we were working with the originals. I mean,
I like
so you know, we had a really, really good time. And my fiance, she had a lot to contribute to that too. But I'm a writer now. So I'm a playwright. I mean, I'm producing films now. I did another film called Did You See That? That was a Halloween movie. I co-executive produced that movie. Of course, Surviving Tough Time was my film, executive producer. Came back home to Memphis and worked with Joe Elliott Production and helped them with the Crooked Game movie that was filmed in Memphis about 3-4 years ago. And I worked with Tyler Perry, stage play manager, Anthony Kennebrew. I'm going to bring my play to Memphis. I got to do that. I was going to do it before COVID, but I was working on the Tim Creed 50th anniversary. So we had like about 15 state tour for their 50th anniversary a couple of years ago, right when COVID hit. And so I was touring the Tim Creeds back in the day, and still sticking, we grinding, we still going strong right now.
Good. Well, it has been truly a pleasure. And I am looking forward to talking to you again. We're going to do this again next week.
We got to do it again.
This is going to be like a series because Memphis matters, baby.
Memphis does matters, and you matter, and I matter too.
Awesome. Love it. Love it.
It's good to connect with my people back home. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be doing a book signing. Date hadn't been set yet. So I'm going to be doing a book signing for the Turning Point. And I'll be reaching out to the community because it's going to be a book signing and a concert later on that evening.
All right.
VIP style.
Well, we're going to have to talk later about that book because I need a copy of it. I need a copy.
I'll bring you one. I'll be home next month sometime.
Okay.
I put the signature on it. I'll go ahead and autograph it for you.
Yes, thank you.
I sold a lot of copies of it. I mean, like literally, it's selling like hotcakes. I mean,
I'm not surprised.
And you know what? I published that book on my birthday. I published it on my birthday 2 years ago. See, I have motives.
I think you said, was it 10,000 copies already sold?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then you talked about it on a live somewhere, and it was over.
I've been on television. I've been on a speaking tour. I mean, like literally, my story is too powerful. Who would thought that a healthcare professional can get indicted on some bogus charges because I call set up, you know? You become a victim of you're becoming a victim of the charges that they accuse you of, you know?
Get your pen out, because me and you gonna write. You haven't heard my story, baby.
I'm ready.
You're gonna see exactly how you fit in. Memphis Matters.
And you know, good story sells. You know that, right? Because everybody wants to read a good story. You know, mine is a page turner, and I know yours will be too.
You get it first. Okay.
I got you.
Look, give me that wonderful Memphis Matters liner.
That Memphis Matters liner. You want me to go ahead on and hit you right quick.
Yeah,
you're listening to Memphis Matter, and I'm here with my girl, Dee Dee Koen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and stay tuned.
Thank you.